In the final decades of the 19th century, British miners and railway engineers arrived in Mexico carrying tools, blueprints, and leather footballs. By around 1900, these workers had formed the earliest organized football clubs in the country, playing on makeshift pitches in mining towns and port cities far from home. The game was, at first, a private ritual of the foreign community, a way to feel less distant from England. The Orizaba Athletic Club, founded in the late 1890s in the Veracruz Highlands, stands as one of the earliest documented football clubs on Mexican soil. Mexican professionals and students who worked alongside British colleagues began watching, then joining, then organizing their own teams. Over the following decades, the game gradually shifted from a foreign curiosity into a local passion, a transformation that unfolded across generations rather than overnight. By 1902, the first formal football league in Mexico had been established, with clubs concentrated in Mexico City and the industrial corridor connecting the capital to Veracruz. The teams of this era had names that reflected their origins, some English, some Spanish, and their rosters were a mixed portrait of a country undergoing rapid modernization during the long presidency of Porfirio Diaz. Football and industrial progress arrived in Mexico together. The Mexican Revolution, which erupted in 1910, disrupted nearly every institution in the country, and organized sport was no exception. Yet football proved resilient, and the sport gradually spread beyond elite clubs into working-class neighborhoods and smaller cities. When the period of greatest conflict subsided, football had embedded itself more broadly across Mexican society than before. The founding of the Mexican Football Federation in 1927 marked the moment the sport acquired a formal national structure, giving Mexico the institutional foundation to compete internationally. Mexico joined FIFA and began sending national teams to the World Cup, making its debut at the first tournament in Uruguay in 1930. Those early appearances were humbling, but they announced Mexico's intention to belong on the world stage. Club America, founded in 1916, and Guadalajara, known as Chivas, founded as early as 1906, grew over the course of the 20th century into two of the great rival pillars of Mexican club football, each carrying distinct regional and social identities. Cruz Azul, founded in 1927 and rising to top-flight prominence from the 1960s onward, added another powerful thread to that rivalry. Chivas became famous for its policy of fielding only Mexican-born players, a deliberate statement of national pride that set it apart from clubs that recruited foreigners. These rivalries gave millions of Mexicans a local allegiance that ran as deep as family. Mexico hosted the FIFA World Cup in 1970 and again in 1986, the latter tournament arriving just months after a devastating earthquake had shaken Mexico City in September 1985. The country's ability to organize a World Cup while still recovering from that disaster became a point of profound national pride. The 1986 tournament also produced one of football's most debated moments, Diego Maradona's quarter-final against England. But for Mexicans, simply hosting the world was the greater triumph. Today, the Liga MX is widely regarded as one of the strongest football leagues in the Americas, drawing large attendances and significant broadcasting audiences across the continent. The Mexican national team has qualified for every World Cup since 1994, building a tradition of consistent international presence that few nations on the continent can match. From a leather ball carried in a British worker's luggage to a sport that shapes national conversation every weekend, Mexico's football journey is one of the most complete cultural transformations in sporting history.